And David, right from the start, said, I don't want anything that isn't World War II. He said, I want to feel the steel. I want to know that it's the real thing.
So real physical assets, real tanks, and very early on, one of the big, strategic components were the military assets. So we knew we needed 5 working Sherman tanks.
So in order to access 5 original wartime tanks, he sorted through, found out the people who could, first of all, supply the tank, and secondly, who were prepared to put 3 months of their life to one side and come and play with us on this show.
There's only a limited amount that we know are out there. They're all parts of clubs and everything. And my first port of call when I came to England was go to the Bovington Museum to look at their tank and talk. We knew that they were open to possibly letting us use it.
First of all, it looked like that they'd like to borrow a Sherman from us. In fact, they may have been borrowing a number of Shermans. In the end, the main Fury tank comes from the museum, a late war Sherman with a 76mm gun.
So I went there and I'd done a bit of research. I'd heard it was probably one of the most reliable tanks in the world of its kind. So that was a big selling point.
There was a lot of these strategic conversations about how do we protect ourselves with these assets that are 70, 75 years old and are prone to mechanical breakdown. I know they're taken out for various shows and tank fests and War and Peace and shows like that, but they're not used to the daily work that we are putting them through on a movie set, and we need to rely on them to show up every day and drive down the road and go into battle and do whatever it is we need them to do.
We had 3 main Furies, the real tank that we got from the museum, our interior, and then we made actually 2 processed exteriors.
Process tank is made on a British track vehicle called a Shielder, and that is a dummy body of the Fury.
We have platforming that attaches, and it can travel with the crew and a couple of cranes on it to get the actors.
Hit it from right flank. Right steer. Davis. Left with me. Stay abreast. Michael, more smoke. Blind the bastard. Go, go.
One of the scariest things for me in the process of making this film was giving a running tank to 5 actors. And there's no shortcuts. These are real tanks. They're 27, 30-ton vehicles, very dangerous. They're designed to kill people. They don't care who they kill. One mistake, and there could be catastrophic injuries or a loss of life.
The thing about a tank crew is it is a mechanism, meaning the crew itself, and everyone has to know each other's jobs. In case one guy gets killed, we can cover for the other.
I wanted them to feel very comfortable around these machines. And when you first get on a tank, and I remember that first day they saw a tank, and they're climbing on board, and they're very tentative and hesitant, and then you get bruised, and they're just beasts. And I was a little worried.
We all got in it, and we're all like so gingerly and delicate, and nobody wanted to break anything, and nobody wanted to break anything on their body, or scared of the turret moving. It just looked so small and cramped and fucking. It was intimidating as shit getting in there.
Once we got to the UK and we had the Fury, we had the tank there, they're all over it.
The EZ-8 from the Bovington Museum, the primary tank that's Fury, these 5 guys developed a very specific relationship to it.
When the Fury became available to them, we couldn't really get them out of it.
It's home, man. It's really home. We come in, I'm not even working today. I just come to ride around in the tank with Brad shooting, and it's just home in there.
There's ways to sit in them where you just find that niche and just find that comfortable spot on the inside, or on top, you ride on top, and the place you put your foot here and your hand here, and you can just relax.
Right from day one, I said to the guys, just practice running in and out of the tank. Practice getting into those hatches.
Adjusting the seats and closing the hatches, and all the little details and things, and how to move periscopes so that they became very comfortable in these tanks.
I mean, David very much treated it as if you have to act like this is your home out in the world, and everything you need is inside of it, and you have to survive in it. And so they developed that, I think, that emotional bond to this tank.
In between rehearsals and things, instead of getting off the tank, they just hunker down inside there and talk and really live like a crew did.
Even to the point when we would have to swap tanks out and use one of our doubles as Fury, I would hear the actors talk. It wasn't the same thing for them. They missed the primary Fury.
They really wanted to make it live, you know, and when you do that, I think it shows in the movie.
Hey! Don't fuck yourself, War Daddy! Coffee's too high. Still only 40 bucks!
As soon as the tanks arrive on set, they become very much my responsibility, which was kind of terrifying to begin with. And luckily, I think the first 4 days of shooting, we were just parked in spots, and it was kind of like I could ease into having these beasts on a film set and trying to interact with them. But I remember the first day that we started moving tanks, it got real exciting really fast.
Clear now! We're gonna go hot, guys! Clear out!
The way we run these tanks is quite interesting. I mean, the drivers, they're all kind of collectors and complete tank enthusiasts, and they're all tank crazy. They live it, they breathe it, it's what they do. And then the TCs, the guys on top of them, and most of the extras that are on them are all ex-British Army. When you're around people like that, that gives you the confidence to kind of step on a set and not be too daunted by, you know, the over 100 tons or whatever of machinery that you're trying to push around this set and then try to reset it and then go again.
Perfect, Joe. Good? Straight on. Nose on the ground, nose on the ground. Keep an eye out.
Toby, can he drive?
When we got Gordo into the driving seat, he asked the right questions. He's sharp, you know. He got in there and he said, okay, which gear am I going into? Show me which gear which gear should I be setting off in here? Fine.
Mike became such a good driver. A lot of times I'd need the Fury to hit a mark for camera, say stop on a dime, or make a really difficult turn and then make another turn and for a specific shot. And I'd get a stunt driver in or somebody, and they'd blow it. They'd blow the mark. And okay, give me Mike. And Mike would come in and nail it every time. I mean, he got really good at driving the tank. It's kind of amazing.
It slows down actually because it takes a little bit more time. Where did you change, do you think? Right where I said I was going to change. Awesome. Looked like you guys were coming at us. Okay, good.
And it's such a huge tank that, like, even if I make the turn, you know, like a good turn, they're still like, cut. And it's like this far away from like a pole that can bring down the whole, you know, platoon. And I'm like, ah, oh, Jesus. You know, I was definitely like kind of skittish at first, but now I've been driving it for so long that it's like, I just keep on driving. I can put in second, third, fourth. And it's actually a lot of fun when you go fast in the tank. And it's almost like you're gliding. You see a big pothole, you're like, oh, oh wow, we just went over that pretty easily.
Dude, I trust it's cool. I don't give a fuck, man. Yeah, I'd go with him. I'd drive back to California in this tank with him. He's great.
Tank! 12 o'clock, 800 yards! I see it, it's a goddamn Tiger!
I don't think any film has had a real Tiger in it. Usually they'll take a Russian tank and sort of up-armor it into a Tiger, and all the guys who know tanks kind of groan, but what are you going to do? Tigers are extremely expensive and extremely rare.
People have built Tiger replicas, but nobody's ever photographed an actual working Tiger. And part of the reasons is that there are not many Tigers left in the world. I mean, I believe there's less than 10 at all in the world, and there's only one that actually runs. And the one that runs is with the Bovington Tank Museum here in the UK.
Now, we normally would have just immediately thrown up our arms in horror. It's such an important object for us. So many people come to the Tank Museum to see Tiger 131 that we didn't really think we'd actually countenance that at all. But after a while, thinking it through and talking to the producers and talking to the director, we started putting what issues we'd have to face in place if the tank was to leave the site.
We also built a replica Tiger. We built a burner Tiger, you know, things we knew we would be limited in what the real Tiger would be able to do.
We're making sure it all looks absolutely correct. I will say that everyone's teaming together to make sure every detail, right down to the nuts and bolts that hold it together, look correct.
Hit it, Mike! Double.
We worked very closely with the Bovington Tank Museum, everyone on their board, everyone on their staff, and through the protection of contracts and insurance and all kinds of protections, we were able to get the Tiger on our set.
What we're doing here is not actually that different to when we run the tank at the museum. So that gave us the confidence that really we thought we could be involved. We're not putting the vehicle at any particular more risk.
You have to look after it big time because all the metal in that is old. And those gears and that engine and everything else has got to be at the right temperature. You've got to get everything to make it as kind as possible to the vehicle. We've had to put concrete down in the field for it to travel on so that we don't wear the gearbox out too much, so that the tracks can slide on the concrete underneath the mud. That's going to make a big difference to the maneuverability of it, but it's still, we have to be so careful because it's the only one. It is the only Tiger that's working.
Once it was out here and the way we were working with it in a very professional way, I think also the museum officials, you know, relaxed a little bit, and they saw that, you know, we were taking care of the asset and allowed us, you know, the drive time and the turn radiuses we needed for the movie, and it'll all be in the movie.
God damn it, fuck!
People book away days where they can go and play with a tank for a day, and they sit on it, and they can swing the turrets, and they drive it a bit and stuff. But you know, not like I'm doing. You kind of step back, and you're like, God, you know, I'm doing what every 10-year-old would dream of doing. You know, playing the biggest remote control game ever with real-life tanks. It's, you know, you kind of sit there thinking, I've got a pretty cool job here. I'm quite lucky. It's unbelievable that we've got through this film like we have without the mechanical failures that could have happened. You know, the tank commanders and some of the drivers were saying, yeah, week 2, a tank's going down for sure, and we'll just have to adapt and overcome. But that just hasn't happened.
You know, they say it ain't the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog, you know, and that's her. She's just a badass fucking tank, and, you know, she's not like the biggest, she's not the strongest, but she's all heart.
They just really knew this machine and grew to love it. I think we all did.